You know those weird dreams you have over and over again? The ones that feel super personal, but also kind of familiar? Well, what if they're not random at all? Today, we're diving into the pretty surprising science that's finding these clear, hidden patterns in our dreams and what they just might be telling us about our lives when we're awake.
Oh, you know this feeling, right? That absolute panic. Your heart is just pounding in your chest. You're running as fast as you can, only to watch those bus doors slam shut right in your face. It is a classic anxiety dream, and I'm willing to bet you've had it, or something a lot like it.
Okay, but what about the flip side? You're on a stage, people are clapping, showering you with praise, but inside you just feel like a complete and total fraud. You've got this strange mix of, wow, this is amazing, and oh no, I don't deserve any of this. So, here's the kicker. What if I told you these aren't just your own little anxieties playing out at night? It turns out these very specific dream scenarios are incredibly common. They are patterns that show up again and again and again in huge databases of dreams from people all over the planet. And this is where the whole approach to dream analysis is getting turned on its head. Researchers are starting to move beyond asking what a missed bus symbolizes. Instead, they're gathering thousands upon thousands of dream reports and treating them like a giant a data set of our collective subconscious. So how do they do this? Well, they use these incredible tools called DreamBanks, and you can pretty much think of them as what they sound like, vast digital libraries just packed with the anonymized dreams of tens of thousands of people, all searchable and ready to be analyzed. And the scale we're talking about here is just staggering. Just one of these databases, just one, holds over 20,000 individual dream reports. I mean, that gives researchers an absolutely unprecedented amount of data to dig into. Now, the two main hubs for all this incredible information are the DreamBank, which is based out of UC Santa Cruz, and the Sleep and Dream Database, or SDDb for short. These two are basically the bedrock for this whole new way of looking at our dreams. So, what have they found sifting through all this data? It's fascinating. Two major families of dreams keep showing up consistently. The first is that all too familiar feeling of being left behind. And the second is its exact opposite, the feeling of being overvalued. And just look at how perfectly these themes mirror each other. It's wild. On the one side, you've got these classic anxiety dreams, missing the bus, being locked out, having your friends just disappear around a corner. And on the other, you have these strange success fantasies that feel wrong, getting an award you didn't earn, or hearing applause that feels totally hollow. They really are just two sides of the same social anxiety coin. And here's a pretty typical report from that left behind category. I mean, you can almost feel the panic just reading the words, right? It's such a visceral experience of being excluded. And then you have the overvalued dream. Here, the dreamer is the absolute center of attention, but instead of joy, that dominant feeling is just guilt. It's a kind of imposter tension. The success on the outside just doesn't line up with how they feel on the inside. But it gets even cooler. Researchers don't just stop at categorizing these dreams by what happens in them. To really get what's going on, they go a step further and actually map the emotional journey from the beginning of the dream right to the end. They call this concept the emotion gradient. It's basically a fancy term for plotting how an emotion's intensity, like anxiety or happiness, rises, hits a peak, and then falls over the course of the dream. It lets them see the actual shape of the feeling, not just the story. So for a left-behind dream, that emotion gradient is pretty predictable. The emotion starts to rise with anxiety. You're running, you're searching. It hits its climax at that exact moment of exclusion, the door slamming shut. And then it falls into a feeling of sadness or just resignation. The overvalued arc, though, starts differently but ends just as uncomfortably. The feeling rises with a sense of delight or maybe surprise. It climaxes at that moment of recognition, the applause, getting the award, but then it declines into what the researchers call imposter tension, that awful feeling of being a fraud. So even the quote-unquote good dream ends with this lingering sense of unease. You know, the process for finding all this is actually pretty straightforward when you break it down. It all starts with really specific keyword searches, think missed train or award and didn't deserve. Once they've gathered all those reports, they can spot the recurring themes, plot out those unique emotional journeys, and then compare the different arcs. But the big question is, why?
Why do our brains keep producing these specific, mirrored patterns over and over? Well, this is where the theory gets really big. It suggests that these patterns inside our heads might actually be a reflection of much larger dynamics out in society. Okay, so one of the leading theories goes like this. Our dreams are basically how we process unresolved emotional energy from our day. It calls these little bundles of leftover anxiety or unearned praise strain packages, stuff our waking brain just couldn't fully deal with. So in a way, our dreams are kind of like the mind's recycling plant.
And here's where it all connects to the bigger picture. The theory suggests that just like our brains have these flows of emotional strain, well, society has its own flows of power, money, and influence. And in both systems, whether it's our brain or our society, those flows are never perfectly balanced. They always create a group of left-behinds who feel unsatisfied and a group of over-promoteds who feel like they don't deserve what they have. Our dreams, then, could be a perfect microcosm of our societal imbalances.
And that leaves us with this final, really fascinating question to chew on. If our individual dreams of missing the bus or getting an award we didn't earn are so incredibly common, what does that say about all of us together? What if the patterns showing up in our dream banks are actually a map of our collective anxieties about where we fit in, about belonging, and about fairness in the world we've all built?